Welcome to the Exceptionally Irresistible Show, featuring conversations with people who have demonstrated exceptional success in their lives and who have some irresistible qualities worth learning from. Come learn how others have created an exceptionally irresistible life. You too can live an extraordinary life, both personally and professionally. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Exceptionally Irresistible Show. Boy, do we have an episode for you. Yeah, I know, I say that every week, but yeah, we have another episode for you. And we have some awesome guests, as you've already seen, as you've already experienced. We have incredible individuals who are coming here with their expertise. They have proven success. They have things that either they do in their life or they demonstrate in a way that they teach others to do. And here today, we have an individual who I've learned to grow very, very fond of, a good buddy of mine, Marc. And Marc is an expert when it comes to LinkedIn. And we've had an episode about LinkedIn before with our great friend Gracie, but I want to take that one step further. If you're a professional, if you're an expert, Marc has a few things up his sleeve that he wants to share today, and I can't wait to bring him into the room, which I'm going to do in 30 seconds from now. But I want to tell you one thing that stood out to Marc about Marc. I met him through a buddy of mine who's a lawyer, and he did a coaching situation, and he told me there's a guy who wrote a book for lawyers about LinkedIn, and I'm like, introduce me to the guy. There has to be something up his sleeve. And so I'm going to introduce you to Marc, and you're going to see what I love about Marc. You're going to fall in love with him too. Here he is.
Have I got a story to tell you?
Boy, am I excited. So, Marc, we're going to jump right into this. And the first thing we always ask the guests who come onto the show, if you're standing at the very top of a rooftop somewhere, you had a megaphone and you're yelling into that megaphone, and people are going to hear a message from you. Okay. What's that message?
I have two short messages that intertwine. How's that? Can I make two half messages into one? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do? Not what, but why do you do what you do? No one but you can tell that. And if anybody else tells it for you, they'll never tell it the way you need to tell it. So look deep and dig hard and figure out what needs to bubble up and embrace it and tell it. That's one. That's a half. That's a big project right there.
Sure.
The other one is, how can you look amazinger, that's my word, than the competition? Because everybody's amazing. Everybody wants to be amazing and expects to be amazing, but some people rise to be amazinger than others. Those are the amazinger people I want to surround myself with.
Sure.
Those are the podcasts I want to be on. Those are the people I want to, what I call co-collaborate with. We do special projects together just because we get each other. We want to make it deeper, smarter, richer. Okay, here are the two halves. I gave you. It took longer than I normally do.
No. I think you did so great. And I mean, wow, there's so much to uncover there. And I do definitely see how they intertwine. But I just want to go back to the quick, why. You mentioned that when I'm the best person, I guess, to demonstrate my why, express my why, tell my why. But then if we're talking about, let's say, referrals, or let's say I'm gonna now get somebody, I did business with them, they get my why, but I'm really hoping they're gonna go and they're gonna tell their friends, working with Yirmi was so much fun. And you better give him a shot too. And they're going to ask, well, why? What's your answer to that?
Well, first of all, don't wait for somebody to ask, who should I work with? Say, I know some incredible people to put you in touch with. That adds to your value to them. Sure. And let me introduce you to my friend Scott, for example, or John or Sue or whoever. It doesn't matter. But tell me exactly what you're looking for, because I know a lot of IP attorneys. I know about 2 dozen of them. What are
Right.
you looking for exactly? And that helps me to narrow it down to maybe 3 or 4. And then I evaluate the personality of the person asking. I think about one of those 3 or 4, which 1 or 2 might be really especially attuned to their personalities.
Mm.
And so both from the heart and from the mind, that's what builds the brand.
Mm.
Heart and mind match, heart
Sure.
and mind mesh, referrals come from it. And I always end my referrals with, I'm expecting to hear great results. So I
Mm.
put a little bit of my, now it's your turn to shine. I did my shine. Now you go shine. And
Yeah.
I rarely ever get somebody where I've missed.
Hmm.
Um, and that makes me feel good.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense because, you are paying attention to that why in a sense, and you're asking, why do you do what you do? And what you're really looking, and this is just what I'm getting from what you just shared, you're looking to match whys together.
Yeah.
This person's why and that person's why, since that's so important to you. And you're going to see, oh, these people mesh. These whys sort of line up. Maybe they're not the exact same why, but I see how they could work together. Is that is
And they don't always match up exactly
Mhm.
laterally because sometimes I do this a lot. I network up to people I aspire to get to know really well.
Mhm.
And I openly approach them and say, let's get a Zoom. Let's see where we're going. We're going to have a conversation, not like, what do you do? But let's get
Right.
deep into where we can help each other and where my strengths fit yours and your
Mhm.
strengths fit mine. And inevitably, I find some place where they're saying something on LinkedIn. I'm going to give a little bit of, that's a really great post.
Mhm.
You do this so well. But have you considered this? Or readers, this is so on target. Let me tell you a little story about that. Or
Mhm.
this is what I've seen to be the best way to use the knowledge you've just gotten.
Sure.
And they do that back on me. And it's not like I know better than they do. It's that we all know something different that we all help each other with.
Sure. Sure. And
Shine back.
it's sharing, yeah, it's sharing a perspective. Like you're right. I do this a lot because for me, it's not like great. I'm on LinkedIn and I spend about an hour a day on LinkedIn or so. But for me, just to come onto your post and just say, "Great job, Mark! Woohoo!" It's like okay, but I think adding a little bit of perspective adds a little bit of salt and pepper, I guess, to the conversation. I'm not trying to, you know, fight you in any way. I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm not like none of that, obviously. But I think adding that conversation and letting that conversation flow adds that spice. I think that's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
important.
because you're adding your perspective to my perspective, and yours is different than mine, and your
Sure.
experience is different than mine. That's great.
Mhm.
That's what we're here for, folks.
Yeah.
We're here to help each other. Emphasis on help, and that help comes in a lot of different ways. It comes from adding your perspective. It comes from introducing people. It comes from, and here's 4 ways that you can make your post really valuable. I promised you this.
Yeah.
What do I know that you don't know that you need to know? I
Hmm.
just read an article that told me that. I'm seeing a trend in something that's really interesting. I
Hmm.
just heard a new word that I find really something I want to apply. So if it's
Hmm.
something I don't know yet, and probably most people also don't know, why
Sure.
don't we all share the discovery together?
Hmm.
What do I feel that most people don't feel yet, but they
Hmm.
need to be sensitized because maybe it's coming?
Hmm.
Here's some new aspects, something interesting that someone else has developed that I want to employ in my thought leadership. Everybody else needs to do this too. It's something on the up and up. What do I believe now that you know what you didn't know before? Now that you feel something you didn't feel before,
Hmm.
what do I believe? I'm not trying to change religious morals. I'm trying to change aspects of what we do
Hmm.
knee jerk. We work differently now in the post pandemic world than we did in the pre pandemic world.
Sure.
In that process, I developed certain beliefs that other people helped me know and feel that I was able to interpret. Now
Sure.
I believe it. We should all believe it because it'll make us all better as a result. And the
Hmm.
last one is the ultimate call to action. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing or go one step beyond me and do better than me.
Hmm.
Please do better than me because
Hmm.
I don't know everything.
Sure.
And you said something a moment ago, which I want to touch on. You're welcome. to disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
So long as, and I know it would be professional disagreement,
Sure.
you would never try to embarrass me. You would just try to add more value to the things I haven't yet known from you,
Mm-hmm.
felt from you, believed from you. And if you can change my knowledge, I'm better, you're better, everybody you know is better, everybody I know is better. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
really fact. That's a wonderful thing
Yeah.
to do.
No, and I love that you touched upon that because it literally happened to me today, actually. I'm an expert in my field, obviously, and people know that. And I was tagged on a certain discussion, and directly in line with my expertise. So yeah, I would love to be involved in it. But then when I was reading the conversation, it felt very hostile. It
Hmm.
felt very like this is my opinion and you're wrong and I disagree. And I was just reading through the comments and reading through, the whole everything that was going on. And I made a decision not even to engage in that conversation. That was just a decision. I don't have to prove my expertise. I don't like that's not what I'm here for, obviously. And like you just shared, I'm here to share value. I'm here to share my why. I'm here to share how I do my why. And I think that ties those two, messages that you had before. And I'm a strong believer in this, and I want to hear your opinion about it. Maybe people are not going to be able to express my why the same way I do.
Of
But
course
what
not.
they could do is to say, I worked with Yermi, I worked with Mark, I worked with whoever, and this is the feeling I walked away with. And like you just said, he was amazing like this. And it seems that he's just so passionate and whatever. And they're gonna just express your why in their own words in a sense, but I think it directly ties into the experience you created. So I think this is like two, what I just shared about my experience with that post, and because I'm here to create that experience like you were just sharing.
Well, it's the maturity of outlook, it's the maturity of action, and it's the maturity of letting time pass between the initial argument and then going back to it and say, folks, I've had a few days to think about this or a few weeks to think about this. And I walked away from a very ugly post and didn't say anything, but I did hear some of these aspects A, B, C, D.
Mhm.
What do you think about
Right.
these? Have you seen this to be the case? I'm
Mhm.
curious because I was an observer rather than an arguer.
Right.
I want to be sure that I'm checking my knowledge base based upon what my colleagues know.
Mhm.
And then you've added value because you open the conversation in a more positive light as
Love it.
opposed to jump back into the negative side.
Yeah. Love it. I think that was right there a golden nugget. So I'm gonna have to take note because we're gonna have to like highlight this because that was you're right. I think it really is about how I like to say this in our transformational networking course. We talk about in your first initial conversation with somebody, it's first impressions count. It's really important. How many people do you know? Oh, what are the pain points and what are things that you hate about your job and what are that doesn't taste good, like right up front. Why not walk away with, wow, that person was a really positive he only spoke about what I love about my job or what I find fulfilling in my job, or by turning that negative and putting it onto the positive puts you always in that positive light. So I think
Yeah,
that's
you're basically saying, why do you do what you don't like doing? Why don't you
right.
try to take transferable skills out of what you don't like
Right.
doing and take it someplace where you do like doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I had the soul searching 23 years ago when I left corporate, and I
Yeah.
knew my skill set. I had done okay. I done very well, and then
Mhm.
I left corporate America. I said, okay, I'm going to start on my own. I know everything. I mean,
Right.
boy, did I get humble pie served to me in big
Sure. Sure.
fat slices. And he's like, wow, the phone's not ringing. I don't know who to talk to. And then
Mhm.
we had 9/11 2 days after I started my business.
Oh my.
Well, I began to wonder, did I make the biggest mistake in my entire life?
Mhm.
I met somebody and no one was seeing anybody. We were all too busy licking our wounds. And a woman said, I would like to talk to you because you have an interesting area. You said something interesting to me. I think we need to talk about it verbally face to face. Okay,
Mhm.
be there. Went down to her office. She said, you've got something. And I'm going to suggest to you, you carry that through because we'll get out of this
Mm.
at some point, and you've got something to really share. And I said, oh, it's really interesting to hear from some stranger that she recognized in me something I'm not even recognizing in myself.
Wow.
So we get too bogged down in the detail and not
Mm.
invested enough in the places we shine, because we were taught not to reflect on where we shine.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, I say, wherever you shine, add more light
Mm.
to where you shine. So there's
Mm.
places on LinkedIn, for example. You can say anything you want about yourself on LinkedIn, and it's going to be Yurmi talking about Yurmi. It's going to be Marc talking about Marc. Well, I say that's okay. But why don't you add some sections of your LinkedIn profile where other people say, that Yurmi, he says he does his why. Let me tell you how well he does his why.
Mm.
And that's skills endorsements, which is lame because it's just a click of a button,
Yeah.
or it's recommendations. And
Mm.
most recommendations are, Yurmi's a really great guy. I work with Yurmi. He's really smart. He really helped us. Blah, blah, blah. You get about 10 of those, and I don't care about Yurmi anymore.
Right.
Tell me a story. Tell me a time where Yurmi was so challenged by something he had to do and rose above. It's the oldest archetype of story in the world, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
persevered, he slayed the dragon, whatever it was. Tell me what skills he employed in slaying that dragon, but tell me the story.
Tell me
Because
how.
we remember stories. We forget facts. Facts don't matter.
Sure.
And most people, LinkedIn is just their resume on steroids, or electrons, as I like to say.
Yeah.
And that's pathetic. That's hiding behind old factoids that no one cares about.
Mm.
Show me where your past makes your present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What did you learn in all that? How many dragons and what type of dragons did you really slay? Okay.
Right.
And
Right.
how does your present indicate where you could go in your future? People buy you for your future. They don't buy you for your past. They fall in like with you for your present. They fall in love with you for your future.
Yeah. Because you're inspiring them.
Gotta tell that story. And people don't, because we were taught not to. So if you can't tell it yourself, let other people tell it for you.
Mm.
And then one more thing I do on my profile, and you can take a look at my profile. I take unsolicited quotes from other people after a session or after a presentation or after a coaching or whatever. It's not quite ready for a recommendation. Just some great, you hit it on the nose. I really appreciate it. I don't put their name there. I just take a small snippet of what they said. I said, it's not just me saying this about me. This is what other people have said about me.
So important. Yeah. And I love that. And we're talking about, like, I love that story with that that person who came to you right when you thought, like, oh my goodness, did I do this or did I not? She had to feel at least invited to, like you must have done something that kind of gave her the permission to give you this advice or this feedback or however it came. I'm curious if there was some kind of messaging that you were putting out into the world that resonated with that individual, that made them feel comfortable enough to have that conversation with you. Did you think of that? Did you find that? I'm just super curious here, and if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that.
No, I don't. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer this question because it's complicated.
Sorry.
I bring a lot of energy to what I do. I've been called high octane. I've been called impossible. I've been called, overwhelming. I've been called many different words. I prefer comprehensive. That's a better word than overwhelming.
Okay.
But I passionately believe in what I do. So there I was right out of corporate and on my own business was within the first 2 weeks of my business. I was so passionate about what I was doing because if I'm not passionate, there's no one's going to be passionate for me. So I better be on top of it. So I went into her office. I knew a little bit about her. I did my research on her. I knew where she came from. Guess what? I used LinkedIn. And I said to her, I'm in this weird space right now. The whole world's gone crazy. And I know I've got a talent, a gift, a skill. What do you think I ought to do with it? And she goes, well, you do. And she heard through the words, and maybe it was just that wonderful chemistry between two people, And she said, you take that talent, you go run it to this industry. And she suggested you go to the nonprofit industry, you will knock them dead.
Hmm.
I never thought of that.
Wow.
She said, you write that down. Of course I did. And I said, thank you. And I left and I sat in the car in her parking lot. I said, wow, did I just like have one of these moments where, I got touched by the whatever cosmic force decided to touch me? I said, and that became my life for the next 3 years.
Wow.
So she doesn't probably realize what an effect she had.
Sure.
It's funny. We don't know what effect we have on each other. But I have people come back to me. I had a guy, I taught him LinkedIn one-to-one. He said, you told me to write my LinkedIn profile like how I put time in the trenches. I said, yeah, you've got a really rich, great history. Tell us. And he had some great successes and one massive failure. And he was looking to go back to corporate. And he said, I know so much now better about what to go back to corporate with, but small corporate, small firm. He said, I can really add real value based upon my past. I said, now your present is sealed. Now show them what your future is. And he said to me, the guy who interviewed me, who hired me, who was a CEO, he said, you have been through the trenches. You're just the type of person I want.
Wow.
I said, and he came back and he said, you told me to put my stuff in the trenches. And I did it. And I took your advice. I said,
wow.
I don't know anything about the future. I just know about the present. And if I helped you, then my job is more than done. And he loved it. And so you don't know the effect you have on people. That's why you have to make the immediate effect about what people read about you on LinkedIn enough for them to want to engage with you. Because the moment they check out and tune you out, you are dust. You're done. You don't come back.
Sure. And I think, and here's what I'm hearing, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is a common thread from the beginning of this episode all the way to here. I'm hearing that what we're really doing is that we're not focusing too much on those likes, on those, when you're posting on LinkedIn or when you're interacting with individual, you're not focused too much on getting them to like you in a sense, but rather you're looking to more, I guess, align your why with their why. And if there's an alignment there, if there's some kind of connection there, now you've impacted them in such a way that, perhaps that lady changed your life for 23 years. You changed that person, in his firm forever. I don't know how long, And I think it's because, and again, this is what I'm just hearing in all of our conversations, is that as long as our whys align in a sense, then there's that impact, there's that value, there's that, I guess that's who really relate to your message, I guess. I mean, are you finding
we all have electricity with each other, and we all have various voltage within that electricity, and the high voltage ones are the ones I want around me.
Sure.
And it's the low voltage ones that I like to just sort of know that they're out there and they're doing okay. But it's the high voltage ones where I can call somebody and say, I got this business issue and I just can't see through it. Let me explain it to you a little bit. And they come back and they say, no, I think you did this wrong. I think you should do this differently. You did this right. Now here's where we can package it and you can go with it. And that's like, those are those wonderful moments where these high voltage, great people that I love to surround myself with have helped me immensely. And I willingly give back more than they gave me just in thanks.
Wow.
And they post something on LinkedIn, I give them everything I know to make their post shine even better. So they gave me a little bit of light, I give them more light back. They gave me a little bit of voltage, I give them a little bit more voltage back. I don't know how else to express it, but I'm so fortunate to know such people all over the world, incredible people. So that's
how we met, Marc. That's how we met. That's exactly it. And we right away lit. I
never laid eyes on you, and then we were in this clubhouse which went on for a little while with some mutual friends.
Sure.
I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. I don't know who's next. I mean, who's going to watch this and say, well, I heard you say some really interesting things, and I'd like to talk to you. That's great. Let me just say something, and I say this in every podcast, and yours is not exception. I don't connect with people I don't know. I don't connect with people I haven't had a half hour, 45-minute Zoom
Wow.
conversation with to see the amazinger factor in them.
Yeah.
If they're not amazinger, and it doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does, I say, thank you very much. I don't see the connectivity. I'll follow me, I'll follow you, so we get each other's materials on LinkedIn, but I don't see the need to connect because I don't let people into my house I don't know.
Sure.
And the privilege of a connection is just that. It's a privilege.
Sure.
It's not given away free. So
I love it. I love it. I love it. And talking about electricity and lighting up and all that, Marc, you know me and I know you, and we don't need to talk about what inspires us to each
Right.
other. But I think for the rest of the audience who's really listening, where do you get that energy from? Where do you get, like, what inspires you? What feeds you? What do you plug into and then just draw that energy from? So what is it that you
whatever it is that makes you happy, there's a good helperness in all of us. Where can I tell a story about I help somebody that makes me feel good and gives a demonstration about how good I can help someone else down the road? What is it about what I do that I really love? And it's not what, it's why do I love it? Why is it my central core to help people get out from under themselves and talk about themselves in a way that they want people to refer them?
Love it? That is, yeah, exactly, Marc.
You're speechless today.
No, because this is like, and I want, this is how exactly I want to end this episode, is that this is why this show is so important. And this is why, right, to your point, this is why I do this, is because, there are so many people out there who are just meeting people and just, they think something's going to come out of it or whatever. But really, I think what you touched upon, and thank you so much, Marc, it's that it's really about, give yourself that permission to meet people, quality people that you just simply align. There's sparks flying, there's energy going, you're inspiring one another. It's so much fun to be around each other, and together you could have this impact on the world. Our motto here is, when two people meet, it's the benefit a third. That's what we're all about. That's our motto. That's what we stand for. And it's when Yirmi and Marc are now talking to each other, are on our own podcast, because we were intentional about it. There's going to be audience members who are listening and who are watching to this, who, go figure, how we hit them, like how we've transformed their life. Sometimes we might not even know. Hopefully people are going to share with us and they're going to connect with us, and I would love to hear, but sometimes we never know. And that's the magic that happens. And that's the electricity, as you mentioned, from this show. And, once again, thank you so much. And, I really believe that the audience has received such tremendous value from you. And this is why you're on the show. So thank you again so much, Marc. I really, really appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Yirmi.
Thank you. And thank you again for all the audience members. That wraps up another episode of the Exceptionally Irresistible Show. And we are looking forward to hearing back from you, because we would love to know how we've impacted you. But if we don't, we would love to see you in another episode of the Exceptionally Irresistible Show. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye. That's it for this week's episode of the Exceptionally Irresistible Show. What has inspired you to take action in your life? Take action now. Take the first step. Share it with a friend or write it in a journal. Subscribe and share this episode. And remember, you too are exceptionally irresistible.